And we're live.
Yeah. Welcome back to another cup of coffee with Paul Sanchez. I'm here with my old pal Mike Mayhew, and we're going to talk about music and movies and places that those things have taken us.
Yes, and look, if we're a little late today, it's because Paul was learning how to hashtag. He was hash browning or whatever they do.
I was hashtagging us on Instagram.
He was hashtagging the heck out of us. We're all hashtagged up. He's taking care of us, so he's our publicist here. So somebody's got to do it. Coffee, right? We're doing our morning coffee thing.
Yeah, my semantics class is in the dishwasher, which I wisely put on just before the show.
Well, sadly, this one here is very ordinary, but it's a big one. And this morning I felt...
some mornings you really need the big cup.
It's taller. It's like taller than... It's like me. It's taller than everybody. All the cups are there, and then there's this one
that's... you need the big cup, man. Yeah. Tuesdays, you need the big cup.
People think it's Mondays, but it's really not.
No. Monday, because you're going to hate Monday no matter what.
You kind of prepared for it, right?
Like, geez, it's Monday, and let me just have 4 cups of coffee and get rolling. But you kind of want 4 little ones because you're a little bit irritated and you want to drink them quick.
You're right, and Tuesdays take you by surprise.
It's going to be a long week, man. I need the big cup.
And so I figure by Wednesday I'll be just bringing the pot here, and I'll have the pot and just be drinking out of the pot. Hey. So how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, my friend. I've had a week of singing. I've been, I think we mentioned last time, rehabbing my voice for 2 years, and it's gotten to a place where I actually enjoy singing again and speaking to friends again, which I was hiding from for 2 years. I couldn't speak for 9 months, and so people would say, "Hey, meet me at a club," or back when we did that in the before times, or come by dinner, coffee. Think of reasons not to because I didn't know if my voice was perfect. But it's working and it's fun and singing is cool and talking to you is cool and yeah.
Yeah, the mornings is definitely fun. We were doing this anyway, right? So might as well.
I was just thinking. So one of the things I kept on my mind, or keep on my mind as I'm healing, is 100 years ago when Cowboy Mouth first started, we got an offer to open up and be the backing band for Bo Diddley. Which was amazing because Fred LeBlanc and I were big Bo Diddley fans. Of course, Griff's a rock and roll fan. Steve Walters was the bass player at the time, and he is rock and roll. So we took the gig. Only we had to drive 16 hours to get there. We had played a double-wide trailer, a bar that was a double-wide trailer in Jackson, Mississippi. And we drove overnight to get to Charlotte, North Carolina, so we could open for Bo Diddley at a place that held 3,000 people. It was our first time ever playing an audience that big. And Bo showed up at soundcheck, and he just gave us a look of disdain, like, another crappy local backing band, because he always used local bands. He didn't say the name of the song. He didn't tell us the key. He just launched into it. But like I said, Fred and I were big fans, and so we knew what he was doing, and we jumped on in. He stopped us after 10 seconds, and he goes, "All right, we're going to have some fun tonight." But Cowboy Mouth in the early days, especially, we were just incendiary, to quote Almost Famous. And, we had 3,000 people in front of us. We exploded like a cannon. And the crowd loved it, and it was a really great night. And he was pissed off at us backstage. He wouldn't even talk to us, and he thought that we had, he thought that we tried to upstage him, which we didn't. We were just doing our thing, who can upstage Bo Diddley, for God's sakes? It wasn't even a thought in my mind. But he had said to Fred, when we first started the sound check, Fred went into the Bo Diddley beat, which he knew very well. And Bo goes, "I don't want none of that Bo Diddley stuff from you tonight. I want 4 on the floor and 2 on the snare, and that's all I want to hear from you." So Fred did what Bo said. But when we went into the first song, which was the Bo Diddley beat, Fred went, and Bo turned around. By now, he wouldn't even talk to us before the show. By now, he's really mad. He thinks we're really trying to mess with him. So he starts walking towards Fred with his eyes in a squint, and Fred's still playing the Bo Diddley beat. And he starts stalking him. And then he gets nose to nose. And Fred breaks into a smile and goes into exactly what he asked him to do. And Bo cracked up and knew that it was a nod of respect. And he did a killer show. He was supposed to play for an hour. He played for 90 minutes and just tore the place apart. He was in his 60s, maybe even 70, and the women were just dying for him. And backstage, he was all sweaty and beautiful and rock and roll. And he says, "I like you fellas. I like you. I'm going to give you some advice. Keep it simple and think of church." And that advice stayed with me my whole life, man. It's like keep it simple, come from the heart.
Right.
You know.
It actually, what became one of the cowboy mouth things. Keep it simple, think of church. I remember that being on T-shirts and everything else. You guys probably owe him some money for that, right? Sold upon
Oh,
on
now
merch.
you want to go there? Well, no, not you guys. I no longer am formally associated with. So if there's a copyright infringement, it would be the responsibility of whomever
Right.
the
Whoever's in charge of those such things.
whoever's running things. It ain't me.
uh, too funny, too funny. So let me see if we've
I
got.
want to go there on me, Mikey. Here I am telling an innocent, Bo Diddley inspiring story, and you got to throw legalities into it.
Yeah, I'm
Next thing
always thinking that way.
against
Devil's
the
advocate
wall,
here.
Hampton and Hahn, starting to sound like I'm in Congress or something.
So, last show we had a few people that were watching, and they were talking about movies. We were talking about movies, your Bryan Cranston stuff, and the fact that you guys are like cousins now, buddies, and he
We
writes
did
for you.
have a drink at the Napoleon House when he and Aaron Paul launched their tequila. I mean, he didn't know who I was, but he was there drinking a shot of tequila, and I was there drinking a shot of tequila, and in technically, we were drinking a shot of tequila together,
I understand.
several feet apart, you know.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he looks at it the same way.
I think that added to the chemistry in the courtroom scene, to be honest with you, was that we had previously had a cocktail and gotten to know each other. We didn't talk or anything, but I think the souls sort of connected as we passed each other. And I think we had the same thing in the courtroom scene. Stop
And
it.
he's
Let's
so
move
in
on.
character. He's sitting there thinking, I think I know this guy. I think I had a drink with this guy. Should I recuse myself from this case? I'm not sure. And
It might have come up in writer discussions. I think I heard something about that, but I was trying to, just be an actor. I was just trying to stay in character.
nice, nice. See, I like it. Keep it simple. Um, but yes, I saw somebody had asked us. See what I don't get right now, and I
Yes,
wonder
we
if
had questions we didn't get to because we didn't know how to do all that.
yeah. I'm gonna pull up my iPad because like this time I pulled up YouTube. I think it's hilarious because I have YouTube up, but it's on the second computer that's not signed in. And the thing that's cracking me up is I'm thinking maybe that's why I don't see the chats where everybody's going. We can't hear you guys.
He left me.
I left you alone for a second. I figured you could
Hello.
handle it. You're a big boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can't handle being alone after a year of pandemic isolation and 2 years of post-surgery isolation, then you should meditate more.
Right. Well, then yes, you should. I think your brother even texted and said he was hearing something funny. Let's see what he says. Oh, yes, he's telling me to get on the microphone. So let's really
Where's
quickly
the
let me
microphone?
open up YouTube here. It's funny, like there is a place called Mac Hell. I don't know if you've ever heard of this place, but
Should I just put on a pair of headphones that has a microphone type of thing?
yeah, I probably should. I'm a sound guy. I'm supposed to know better, but I'm all about keeping it simple. Oh, now you left me. This is beautiful. So let's see here. All right, let me see if I can find where we are, and maybe if I do that.
Wait, I have some.
I think it's the wrong Paul Sanchez. Let's see. How do I do this? This is too funny. I can't even work my dang iPod. But I was going to say, that Mac Hell, it's a real place, and I was there all night, really, playing around with my trying to get an update.
All right, Johnny shot us down in one question.
Oh yeah, what was his question?
Can I get more on the mic?
Yeah, he wants me on the microphone.
Oh, we want you on the microphone.
Yeah, I think they thought you were good, but you're always good.
Of course, I set my levels correctly. You had me going around the house looking for a microphone.
What are you gonna do? I can't find today's show. This is hilarious.
With the microphone.
Isn't there supposed to be a show today? I thought.
Yeah, can we talk?
Yes, we can just talk.
That's why this whole question thing was going to be a problem. We might need a third person off camera looking for the questions
somebody
and feeding
offered
them.
to do that for us too, and I told him, nah, we got this. This is going to be easy.
That somebody was probably your wise wife.
No, she wants nothing to do with it. She's smarter than we
She
are.
wants nothing to do with it.
She's like, yeah, you guys have your fun. Keeps you out of my hair for a little while.
All right, so one of the questions was, while you're looking for the questions, was, do you have a favorite song? Do you?
Oh, there we go. It came up.
All right.
All right, so yes, Paul drinking tequila. Some of the things. Yes, my sound is low. Thank you. Paul sounds good. Mike needs to turn his mic up. Paul sounds good. So it's all about the sound. So, but now I can turn that down. Let me see. Does it sound good? We spin. This is how you spin a good show. When you
Here, Mike,
actually
pacing.
check the quality of your stream while you're. All right. Yeah, it all seems fine. So, back to business. So when they asked that question, though, we were talking. Now that I'm back with you again, how do you pick a movie? It's like a favorite song, right? I mean, they all have different. It depends on what you're. Do you want to watch something with some story? Are you looking for a comedy? Do you want to watch some fancy computer graphic things?
I mean, I I love movies.
Right.
You
Me
know,
too. It's hard to
I
pick
love
a.
I love bad movies. I love good movies. I love depends. Sometimes you really are up at late at night. You're in the mood for a B movie, as there used to be called when I was young. Not everything's high art. Sometimes, you know, I might write Foot of Canal Street with John Boutte, and sometimes I might write Mary Hold the Candle, drunk in Ireland on stage. And it's all beautiful. It's all life, laughs, tears, ups, downs, youth, old age.
Right.
Let's celebrate it.
It all kind of plays into it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like cut 'em up movies, because there's a great bit in the book Illusions where a guy goes, your life is your movie, so write it, direct it, produce it, and star it. And the guy goes, well, if that's true, if you're in control of your life and you're the director, why do some people have sad lives? He goes, like, why do some people like sad movies? Why do some people like horror movies? It's your choice. So I don't know. I like classics, but my wife says whenever I say, "Oh, can we watch this movie?" She'll go, "I don't know, how old is it?" She knows I watch the same thing 10 times.
I've got a little bit of that kind of thing, with the, which movie are you watching? Because my wife likes to Turner Classic Movies, and
I love to. So we could watch. Kim and I could watch movies. That's
yeah, I bet
like
you guys would be fine watching movies together. But sometimes I can sit down and watch. I mean, I do enjoy old movies, but I do enjoy the fancy camera moves and the the way things look.
Somebody asked me after the show what was my first on-screen appearance, and I was working as a PA on that Miller's Crossing movie. And one of the things that the Coen brothers did, they were so generous, they put all the crew in the movie. There's even a scene in the ladies' room where Albert Finney's dressed as a woman and he's hustling out of the ladies' room because he just wanted to get in on the action. And so the first AD liked me. And I was, like I said, the set mascot, playing guitar around and making a spectacle of myself, not really working hard. And he said, let's put Paul in the scene, which is where Gabriel Byrne is getting punched down the stairs of the club by Albert Finney. And he wanted me to be right in the shot as they went by so I'd get a close-up. But it was my first time on a film set and loving movies as much as I do. I was so excited. I had my head shaved. I was in a tuxedo, and here comes the fight. And I'm a big Albert Finney star, and Gabriel Byrne was really cool. It was one of his first big movies. And right when they went by me, they said, okay, when the camera goes by, don't look at the red light. So they call action. And literally, as the camera goes by, I'm just transfixed. I'm just staring at the red light. And they go, all right, Paul, you looked right at the red light. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry. It went on. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen. And they go, all right, so just don't look at the red light. And then, bam, I'm looking at the red light, and so they go, hey, you know what? Let's just move Paul back a little bit. So they've moved me back a little bit, but I'm still like sort of aware when the camera goes off. And I can only describe my overacting in 1989 as similar to Pee Wee Herman. They moved me until I was out of focus, about this big on the camera, sitting at a table over Gabriel Byrne's shoulder where he's talking to the bartender. And whenever I see it, I go, wow, is that extra overacting?
I mean, why would they tell you not to look at the...
my friend Carl Palmer is a great actor, and my friend Michael Cerveris is a great actor, and they just gave me really good tips, which was don't try so much.
Right.
You know,
That's
do
always
less
gonna.
and look
You
at
know,
the other guy's eyes and follow the energy like you do in real life. Pretty
eh,
simple.
the best actors do less. I mean, you certainly don't. That's the whole point,
Well, it
right?
helps
It's
when I
supposed
get very few lines.
to.
When I work, I get very few lines. It really helps. Even when I played myself in Tremere, a couple of lines, and I was able to pull it off.
Well, I think that's
Acting.
hilarious, though, the red light story, though. I mean, why would you tell somebody? I mean, that's like walking up to, somebody with some sort of disfigurement and going, whatever you do, don't look at the, you can't help it. It's like, I'm not supposed
Yeah,
to
it
look at the
lost me
part
my
that I'm looking
close
at,
up.
right? Okay, let me see, you got to find some kind of way to get yourself around that. But that is,
I also stole a cat for that movie. I stole a cat. There was an elderly woman who flew in. She was going to be the neighbor who heard the shot and comes out and says to Gabriel Byrne, "Oh, I heard a shot," and he tells her to go call the police. And this elderly German actor from New York flies down to New Orleans, and she decides she wants to hold a cat in the scene, like last minute, and we don't have a cat. And so they turn to me and they go, "You think you can get us a cat for tomorrow morning?" I'm like, "Sure. Like, I'll do anything. That's my first movie job. Sure, I'll get us a cat." So
not going to
I
be
called my friend
SPCA.
Eric Gern's sister, Amy, had a cat, and I said, "Hey, can I, borrow your cat? He'll get paid $200 for the gig, and he'll be well taken care of. I have a little kennel, and they'll take care of him." And she said, "Inshallah, I think he'd look beautiful on camera." So I show up the next morning at 5 a.m. because you got to be there early. And she's like, "No, no, whatever the cat's name was, Mr. Fluffy, he's decided he doesn't want to be in the movie." I'm like, "He doesn't really speak." He couldn't have. She goes, "No, I can just tell he's nervous, and he knows something's up, and I don't think he wants to be in the movie." And I'm like, "Wow, what am I going to do? I promised him I'd bring a cat." So my next door neighbor had this big fat black cat named Dylan. And so I said, "Well, she could use a little scratch." And we were good friends. We'd have a beer together. And I said, "I'll just take Dylan. I'll tell her later." So I take Dylan, and, they groom him. They give him a little kitty Valium. He's got a dressing room. He's getting treated way better than me on the movie. But at the end of the day, they come to me and say, "Look, we didn't get to the scene, so we don't want a chance of losing the cat. We need the cat to spend the night and stay another day, but he'll make another $200 and be well taken care of." I said, "Well, I'll go explain it to her." So I got my next door neighbor. I was living on North Olympia in Mid-City, and I said to her, "Hey, man, it's kind of embarrassing, but I stole your cat, Dylan, this morning. He's going to be in Miller's Crossing. He's going to make $200 a day for 2 days' work. You'll get $400, and he's well taken care of. He's got a dressing room. Somebody's combing him all the time." And she's like, "Honey, Dylan's on the back porch. He's been here all day." No, I took him this morning." She said, "Oh, no, no, he's been here all day." I said, "Well, is there a fat black cat in the neighborhood?" And she said, "Yeah, a couple doors down." And she said the guy's name, and it was like, that moment in the movie where the piano goes, dong, dong. It was this huge guy. I don't know if he was doing anything illegal, but a lot of other huge guys would show at his house on motorcycles with speedboats and big giant cars. And it was a rough looking crowd, I'm going to say. I won't go beyond saying my heart was in my throat. And I go down and knock on this fella's door. Let's just call him Pete, but it wasn't. And I say, he's literally like this big, and, looking down at me silently. And, "Yeah." I said, "Pete, this is really embarrassing. I'm working on this movie, this gangster movie, and they wanted a cat. And I thought I was taking Dylan from down the street, there, but I took your cat, and he's making $200 a day. He has to spend the night, and I'm going another $200 for tomorrow." And by this time, his girlfriend's come to the door, and she's this little tiny thing looking up at giant Pete. And she goes, "Oh, honey, isn't that going to be great? Dusty's going to be a star." He doesn't even look at her. He just looks down and he goes, "You took my cat?" I'm like, "Yeah, I took your cat, and he's going to be in a movie, and you're making $200 a day for 2 days, and he's well taken care of. He's in a kennel." He just goes again, "You took my cat." I go, "Yeah, absolutely, I did. I'm so sorry. It was wrong of me. I'm very wrong of me. But I promise I'm going to be bringing him back tomorrow with $400. And again, the girlfriend goes, "Honey, we're going to get $400, and he's going to be a star." And the guy gives her one look, and he looks at me and goes, "I better get my cat back."
It sounds like you did pretty good there. It was funny. I was telling Skeet yesterday that you said when you were working on the Coen Brothers film that you were such a bad PA that they moved you to making sandwiches for the crew. I believe that's what you said, right? That they like taking you off PA duties and just said you just get snacks
I think
together
they
for the
just sort of
guys.
kept me where they could just to have me around for laughs. I don't know. I was given several different jobs during the course of the thing. And I think it was just because I was good for laughs, because I was such a loudmouth rube. And they thought, this guy's a chuckle. He's completely unaware of what an idiot he is. Let's just give him a job here and there so everybody can get a big laugh.
Right. That's, you'd have to be a really bad PA for them to go, you know what, you don't need to be a PA really. Just make sandwiches for the crew. Go to craft services.
And don't bring them to the crew. Don't come out of the truck.
You stay there.
We'll stay there.
We'll
Play guitar.
if we need to.
You're fine.
And meanwhile, they walk in, and there you are playing guitar, and it's like, wasn't he supposed to be making sandwiches? Yeah, he did it for a few minutes. We let him cut the crust off the bread.
He doesn't make sandwiches very well. Just let him play.
Just let him do his thing. He's doing great. We love him over there. The only thing I didn't think about is normally when I'm having coffee in the morning, I like to have like consecutive cups, and we probably need runners.
Yeah, no. We'll both need refills. Who wants to get theirs first?
That'd be a good idea because I do have inserts again. I can always throw up visuals.
Get yours first.
No,
get your refill.
I got a couple of. Let's see. You need to go because I got another 5 minutes. Not even 5. I got about 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
All right, go ahead and tell something, and I'll get it.
So my turn to tell stories. And look at my fancy lighting back there. I'm very excited about that. I still can't get the line straight. See that? It's weird. But I'm guessing I can look over here and see what we got. Paul's level's good. Mike's still low. What was the name of that movie? Look for the overacting extra.
All right. Did you manage to say anything insightful while I was gone?
Hell no. Yes. Well, there are people that are going to warn about you stealing cats. Apparently, we had some comments about.
Well, I was very young, and I was very desperate to be in the film business because it was so magical looking to me. And stealing a cat, I didn't steal the cat. I borrowed the cat from a friend.
Yeah, friend.
Ultimately, I borrowed the cat from a stranger. So I thought I was borrowing the cat from a friend. I would never steal a cat.
What would have been even funnier is if they'd have been like, well, yeah, you mean the rabid cat that they were trying to get rid of in the neighborhood? That cat. You're going in the next day going, it didn't bite you, right? It didn't scratch you? You guys are okay, right?
No. And the actress decided not to use it when the scene came up.
That's even brilliant. So speaking of movies, there was this old scene from a movie called Nothing in Common with Tom Hanks and Ralph Cramden. What was the actor?
Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason, right. So Jackie Gleason is Tom Hanks' father. It's a movie from the 80s. Anyway, he's an advertising executive.
I know the movie.
I don't know if you remember this movie, but he's under all this pressure.
Yeah.
And there's that bit about with the ad, and the old lady's got the cat, and she has to fly and he just has a meltdown talking about, what about the cat? What are people going to be thinking about the cat? Does she leave it there to die? How's he going to, it's licking ice off the windows to try to survive for some kind of nourishment? Like he's having a complete breakdown. It was really, really funny. A great movie, by the way, Nothing in Common. I haven't seen it in ages. It's one of those ones that kind of disappears and it never shows up on streaming. It's like, I think they've been.
You might want to reinvestigate it. It might have been something you thought was funny when you were young, and maybe it didn't age so well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, put it this way, I remember there were funny parts in it that I think would probably still be funny. Now, whether the whole long, drawn-out melodrama of the mom and the dad and the father and all that, I probably could live without that now. Yeah. But who knows? It might be just a thing. On a nice rainy day, sit down with your coffee, put a little bit of whatever you wild turkey, Jack Daniels, whatever you're.
I talked my wife into watching The Godfather this weekend, Godfather 1 and 2, and her boss at Oxnard, Dr. Hickman, is a big Godfather fan. And she's like, what is it with men in The Godfather? I'm going to have to watch this movie. So about 10 minutes in, she just turns to me and she goes, this is a dude flick. And I never thought about it before because it's such perfect, those two perfect movies. But really, unless the woman is a real cinema fan and wants to talk camera angles and, you know, the shots and all that. So you could conceivably say it was a dude flick.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of violence, right?
There's a lot of you know, male positioning and all that stuff. There's not a lot of respect for women. I mean, fair enough to say it's a dude flick.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You know, it's in this day and age, I'm having to reevaluate some of my previous thoughts of.
You have a young daughter that helps you do that.
Yes,
you see,
my daughter definitely. Both of them do make their points known to me.
How old are they now?
The oldest one, she's going to kill me, but I think she's 28. I have to say I think because I usually have to do the math. And then Allie's 21, and I only know that because she just made 21.
My friend.
21 is such a momentous one, you know, when you make, after 21, it gets a little different. You know, you start forgetting how old you are, but 21 was a big one for her, so.
Yeah, now she gets to speak her mind to you.
Oh, you kidding? She's been speaking her mind since she was 14 years old. Now she doesn't live here anymore, so she can just go, you can completely piss off, Dad, because I pay my own rent now, so. I don't even have to listen to you at all. But, you know, we actually have a good relationship. She's a lot of fun. She's a political science major. The other one's a lot of fun. If you're on the New Orleans music scene, you might have met the other one running around and not even known that you met her because she's all over the scene and pretty blonde.
She's probably
like her mom, running around and breaking hearts, and making a lot of noise. Moved to California.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite song?
Favorite song?
Yeah.
Yeah, once again, I mean, depends on what mood you catch
No
me
such
in,
thing, right? People ask all the time, what's your favorite song? I don't know. What's a perfect song? Row your boat. You know, row your boat gently down the stream because life is just a dream. That's a pretty perfect song.
You know, you're right. The idea behind it is great.
I say Tipatina. Tipatina is a brilliant set of lyrics. Tipatina, tra-la-la, tra-la-la-la, tina-na. Tipatina, wa-la-la, tra-la-la, ta-la, tina-na. I dare anyone to come up with a set of lyrics that says more than that line does. That's brilliant lyrics.
Yeah, you're right. And also you have to be quite a singer to be able to get away with things like that anyway, you know.
Well, as the great Susan Cowsill once said to me, singing is 90% confidence. So if you're a confident singer, and Fess was nothing if not confident.
Yes. You got balls if you're singing tra-na-na, tra-la-la. And
it's awesome. Every time I hear it, I think that's just brilliant.
Yeah. And you're right, some of the easier early songs that were, you know, before everybody got into fancy chord changes and whatever. It's very simple. Like, and you mentioned Row Your Boat. The other thing is it's a together song, right? Because in the way that you pull other people in, they've got the counter melody, and you know, so. Cool.
I just like that message of it. To be honest, like what grabs me in a song, what grabs me in a lyric. If I used to, when John Rankin was still teaching, I would go to his Loyola class, his songwriting class, once in a while and talk. And the song I would use an example was George Jones' "A Good Year for the Roses," because the opening verse is cinematic brilliance. I can hardly stand the sight of lipstick on the cigarette there in the ashtray, lying cold the way you left it, but at least your lips caressed it as you packed. And the lip print on the half-filled cup of coffee that you poured and didn't drink. Well, at least you thought you wanted it, and at least that's more than I can say for me. That you just got a relationship in a moment, in a verse. That's brilliant lyrics, you know. That's gorgeous. It's reality.
Yes, that's reality.
And that's what makes it poetry.
So,
yeah.
Let's see if we've got anybody up here. Good morning, y'all. We got a guy, Eric May, says good morning. I think some people are talking about Miller's Crossing. Let's see.
I did hear the news about Tony Bennett's family announced, while you're scanning questions, but Tony Bennett's family announcing that he is dealing with the onset of Alzheimer's. Now he's 94, and he still does 2 home shows a month online, and his voice is amazing. I mean, 94, most singers are supposed to lose their voice once they get into their 70s. You're supposed to lose bits of it. and he's an operatic pop singer. I saw him live at the Sanger when he was in his 80s, and he was brilliant. He sang without a microphone at one point, and his voice still filled the hall. There's a gorgeous film it was directed by his son, about the making of an album of duets with his other son producing the album. And there's a beautiful scene in it where he's walking, and he's like close to 80 at the time, however old he was, and he says, there's two things I love in life, singing and painting, and I try to get better at both of them every day. And I thought, that's so beautiful and simple and perfect. You find what you love, try and get better at it. Be nice to people along the way.
Yeah, that was good. Being nice to people is when you have to kind of learn as you get older, right? When you're young, it's not really a priority.
Everybody tells you when you're young, you're not listening because you're in a hurry. You don't listen to anything the older people say. And then when you look back, at least with me, when I look back, I wish that I had been less fearful, which would have made me less angry and more kind.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of it does come from fear. I try to remember that when I'm dealing with, people my kids' age. And when you have kids that are that old and you see some of these guys, you realize, my gosh, they're my kids' age. And as mature and intelligent as a lot of these kids are in this, because Gen Z is an interesting generation, I have to remind myself about when you were young, there's a lot of confidence. You're making up for a lot of things in your personality that haven't developed yet. And, you're trying to...
Well, plus, I do believe when you're young, there's certain feelings you keep from your parents and older people because you think nobody's ever felt this way before. Whether it's love or the sense of sadness that you might carry, whatever. Because you haven't shared as much as older people have or experienced as much, in your youth, you tend to go, oh, man, nobody's ever felt this way before, whether it's happy or sad.
Right.
You're making up the world as you go along.
You get a little bit older, and suddenly you're like, hey... I get this. I kind of get how to make my way through this world. And then, like, when you get to our age, I'm 50 and over 50, but we don't have to go there necessarily. But the idea being that you start getting at this age, it's completely different.
I'm 61, and kindness was something I had to learn through my 50s. Mm-hmm. Forgiveness is something I'm still working on.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a joke. I mean, like,
no.
That's a big one, because, that's, with all the great allegorical figures, whether you believe in them or not, Christ, Buddha, Lao Tzu, they're all like, forgiveness is only you not forgiving you. You're the one you're hurting in the end.
Right.
So, yeah, and then but anyway, so yeah, that's kindness. There's it's the 5 stages of grief. I'm talking about the 5 stages of letting go of all that. Like, kindness is right before forgiveness.
Right.
Forgiveness is
but it's a big step. Last step's a big one. The last step's
it's a doozy.
Adam has pointed out something that I know. Yeah, I know Adam. You are hearing a little bit of Paul through my microphone. It's because I'm listening to him in the room and not through headphones. Paul had suggested a little bit ago, hey, maybe Mike, if you had some headphones, and he was right. So, yeah, unfortunately...
Should I have headphones on?
I don't know if you noticed or not, but they're not on my head, so...
No, well...
Just,
Yeah.
But,
whatever.
I kind of, I get, we're not exactly calling ourselves a professional organization here. We're just kind of trying to have some fun.
Yeah, we're just having coffee, man.
And I've got you so turned down half the time I can't even hear your response, so... I probably will, each day's a new thing. We're going to try headphones on Friday. And
That's just an old habit from when you were sound man for the band.
Sound man for whoever I'm doing. And by the way, I don't even remember when the last time I was a sound man. Gosh sakes, at least...
Turn him down. Turn him down. Turn him down.
At least for live shows. My goodness, all my friends, too, that, do live shows, everybody's just looking at each other.
Well, I know. That's the weirdest thing about this year's. that's music as we know it, as most of my friends my age know it, is that feeling of being in a nightclub full of people, that energy. I mean, even as soon as you walked up, especially when the band first started doing well, when Cowboy Mouth first started doing well, I remember pulling up to Tipitina's in 93 or whenever it was we first sold it out. And I was confused. There was a line outside the door down the block. And I walked up and I said, "Is there a band playing before us?" Like, I thought people were here for somebody, some national act or something, because that was why all the people were there. And the doorman just laughed. He goes, "No, man, they're here for you." And I just walked in like, what? I couldn't believe it. So that feeling of playing to a packed room and the energy transfer and being in a crowd when you were a kid, when I was even younger, being in the audience, seeing the Neville Brothers close out Jazz Fest, the kinship of so many people around you singing the songs and watching the sun go down behind Aaron as he sings Amazing Grace. I mean, all those moments, it obviously isn't the same alone at your computer, and obviously isn't the same with a reduced capacity audience. It is the communal gathering of souls feeling as one.
And not to mention, I mean, I think it's the one thing that music has over movies. As much as I love movies and things like that, I mean, you don't have that visceral response.
I think that's why I like working on movies, because you get to be a part of the energy of the creation, and that's where that connection is for me. It's watching the crew and the actors and how they treat each other and what their jobs are and how committed it all is. That's all fascinating stuff to me. But a live show is definitely, I mean, that's about that exchange of energy. It always is. Right. It makes great political speakers better orators. It makes basketball more fun to watch. And it certainly makes live music more exciting. Whether it's watching the To Be Continued brass band get a house up dancing, or whether it's watching, Paul Sanchez sit alone and play, or God bless Ellis Marsalis, rest his soul, sit at the piano and deliver you an elegant and quiet show at Snug Harbor. Right. There's still an intense connection of oneness with the people lucky enough to be in that room, or who were lucky enough to be in that room when he was with us. And those are the things I miss. I tune into friends' live performances, but I'm old and I don't stay through the whole show a lot of times. I feel bad about it, but I tune in mostly because I miss him. I miss seeing Alex and Davis and Rankin and Boutte. I especially miss his company because he cracks me up. He's one of the most inappropriate guys I ever met in my life when he's alone, and I just miss him making me laugh.
I know. I wouldn't even want to tell any Boutte stories unless he was here to defend, because all of them would be like,
He'd have to be here to censor me.
Yeah, he'd have to, right. You don't want to tell him that, Paul. Jeez Louise.
Yeah,
that's for us.
Yeah, no. Although I saw some stuff he had to say in the newspaper story, and he must be feeling himself out there in the country, because he was saying some snappy stuff, man. It wasn't all sweetness. I like it.
Yeah. That's great. He's an interesting guy. I mean, you've told me some of the stories.
Oh, yeah. One of the most interesting folks I ever met.
Just cracked me up, and it's like, yeah, he would have to tell that story. It's like, yeah. No, you couldn't get away with telling that particular story. Let's see. We have Mark Membrilla. I hope I'm saying that right. He says, to your point on the communal experience, a favorite quote from Mark Twain: "To get the full value of joy, you must have someone to divide it with. It's the key that's missing this past year."
It is, and it's been touching for me. For me, I was in isolation already. I had an emergency surgery on my left side of my neck, and then I had a spine surgery on the right side, and that was 2018 November and January 2019. It left me with a vocal issue that I couldn't speak for 9 months. So I was recovering from neck surgeries, and I couldn't speak and sing for 9 months. And right as I was starting to make improvement, the pandemic hit. But what other people had to get used to, I was already living in. And so I was able to adapt, and I was touched by how many people still felt that need for community, that they found ways. Whether it's through the virtual performances, whether it's through Andre Boren and his truck performances, where he pulls up in a pickup truck at an undisclosed location and it's safe social distance seating, the people playing from their balconies, and that's New Orleans. We're going to find a way to have a good time. House floats. We can't have a parade. Fine, decorate your house like a float.
Right.
We'll drive by you instead of you, driving by us.
Right.
It's all beautiful. It's all love. It's all this expression of joy in the face of insurmountable sadness. Usually it's a hurricane. Sometimes it's just personal death in a family, which is where the brass band funerals got their start. But it's always that New Orleans spirit of something has come that has taken away our ability to congregate or our ability to express joy, but we won't let it. The joy lives in here, and we give it out, whether it's a house float, whether it's a song, whether it's somebody dancing by themselves down the street. We find a way. And so here we are,
to your
Mardi
point,
Gras.
I think one of the hardest things about the pandemic are, other national tragedies, hurricanes, and different things that have happened in 9/11, things that have happened in the past that have caused these moments. During the pandemic, before that, people could still get together and heal together, but here you are in the middle of this pandemic, we're in the middle of this big moment, and people can't really get together to heal, which is...
I think that people, first of all, there's nothing wrong with learning to be alone with yourself. A lot of times
it's
people...
been a year and a half, or not quite a year and a half, but it's been a year, Paul. Learn to live yourself's one thing, but it's been...
But I know, but like sometimes people over-medicate or they overwork or they overdo because they don't want to spend too much time alone. So whether you watched TV or whatever your thing you did, you ran out of patience for doing your thing, and eventually you did something else. And maybe you had a little bit more time alone. Look, life's going to throw stuff at you for the rest of your life, and you got to find ways to find your joy and peace inside. Because if we can't start there, then it's just going to be a downhill slope, man. It's not like you're not going to have challenges.
Speaking to that, Susan Harden...
There's a great Chinese proverb about a woman whose young daughter dies.
Mm-hmm.
And she refuses to accept that the child is dead. And she takes the child to the village priest and says, "You are very powerful. You're very holy. You can bring my daughter back from the dead." He said, "I will do this for you. If you can go to every village in town, every house in the village, rather, and find me one house that has not been touched by death." And she went away for an hour and she came back and she said, "I understand." And she took her child's body and she went home. Tragedy touches us all, and you never stop grieving for the people you lose, but you find a way to find joy with the people you still have.
Right, of course. And Susan Harden on here, on the chat, said, "After we found out my mom was terminal, I asked her for the most important piece of advice. She said, be kind, just be kind to others. I carry that with me. She was a smart woman," Susan says about her mother. But it sounds...
Sue's a great threadhead, and that's beautiful advice. Thanks for sharing that, baby.
Yes. It sounded like it was the same thing. Chris Joseph says healing's a lifelong process. If that's true, hopefully I have a lot more processing to do.
Chris Joseph is the head honcho of Threadhead Records, and Chris Joseph is also a 5-year now survivor of pancreatic cancer through yoga, meditation, alternate treatments, and believing in love and life.
And I'm hoping he's feeling...
He has a book called Life is a Ride about his experience through that.
Really? I didn't realize that. I'm going to have to check that out for sure. It's funny, I've been reading books by directors lately. You never thought directors write books as well, but Sidney Lumet wrote a couple of interesting books.
I love watching documentaries or reading insights into how directors work. For instance, like Clint Eastwood's famous for not calling action or cut.
And for
that
just
Irish,
a few takes, right? I mean, he doesn't do many takes, according to...
Well, he doesn't like to do many takes either, but that Irish actress I worked with in Your Honor, it freaked her out because she was like waiting for him to call action, and finally he goes, "Whenever you're ready." and she thought she had done something wrong. I was like, "No, that's just how he is." It's because when he was a young actor, he was in a series called Rawhide.
Right.
And it would take him a while to get the horses settled, and then somebody would come with a clapboard and clap, action, and the horses would go off, and then they'd have to settle them down again. And same thing when they called cut. And so Eastwood just thought, well, if it does that to the animals, it startles them. It's got to startle the actors. You know, they're trying to get into a place, and then you do this, and they're supposed to go back to that place. So early on, when he was a director, he decided he just wasn't going to do it. He just would turn to his actors and go, whenever you're ready. And then when they've ended the scene, he waits a couple seconds and he goes, are you finished? And that's it. That's how he makes a movie. And he doesn't do many takes. He believes in spontaneity. There's his movie Bird. There's a great story about the cinematographer comes to him. It's a scene in Charlie Parker's apartment, and he's doing heroin. It's really dark. And the director of photography goes to him and says, the lighting was really dark. I don't know if we got Forrest in that shot. And Clint smiles and goes, perfect, moving on. And he was in the shot. It was really dark, and it was sad and scary.
Right, and it was more about the performance than whatever technical issue.
The moment, you got to capture. He's a jazz fan. Mm-hmm. So he likes capturing the moment on film.
He's actually a big music fan too. I mean,
he plays piano really well.
That's what I had heard, right? And I mean, the whole Jersey Boys movie, whatever,
he produced that, right, and directed it.
Did he just produce it or direct it? I thought he directed it.
I think he directed it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Everyone's definitely joining us on the healing train. You used to do this little, well, you probably still do. On Facebook, you'd kind of go through some of the songs and tell little stories and stuff about some of the past, all the people that were involved.
Well, for me, when I was young, I always said that the songs were musical postcards from my younger self to my older self. And I wanted to remember the friends and the places and, the ups and the downs, the loves and the losses. I wanted to remember it all. I was going to be old one day, and I wanted to look back, not just at photos. And you can't count on every wife to stick around. So you want to look back at something. I have my songs to look back on.
Right. And the fact you've got a great memory right off the bat. You remember things about the sessions that I do not even remember. And then you talk about them, and once you're into the story a little bit, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. But you definitely have a memory for things that have happened to you over time.
Yeah, well, I don't know why. I've always had a great memory. It's a blessing and a curse. Because most of the time, the people who love me go, God, you have such a great memory. And then when we disagree, they go, you don't remember it right.
Right. You don't remember it right. That's not the way it went down. I'm sure you hear that an awful lot.
Okay. It's a spotty great memory then.
And so your younger self would have been like, what do you mean I don't know? You don't know what you're talking about. I was there. And, now your older self's like, whatever. Okay.
That guy was a punk. He would have disagreed with me just to disagree with me. My younger self had a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, yeah. I remember I remember us landing somewhere, and your guitar case was crushed. And
we were coming back from, I think, Europe or something, and we had layover in St. Louis, and my guitar case, my precious telly, it comes out on the luggage rack, and the case is taped together, and they are tire tracks over the center of the case. And who wouldn't be upset? The visual alone. I walked into the office of I believe it was Delta, and I threw it on their counter, and I go, this used to be a guitar case. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Right, I remember that. What are you?
Now, I could have been nicer. I could have been nicer, Mikey. I admit that. The older me would have walked in and said, look what happened. What are we going to do?
What can we do about this?
But I was young, and I was really poor and couldn't afford to buy another guitar. It's like when in those days, Cowboy Mountains, we had no money.
Right.
We would drive all over the country.
I know you had no money.
$100. We did a gig for $100 and a pizza the night the Gulf War broke out. And Fred had broken his foot trying to play football with Griffin and I at a truck stop. We didn't know he broke his foot. We just thought Fred's a klutz. So we go to this bar, and we're broke, man. We're in Virginia. We got to get gas money home. So we got to play the gig. And Fred's like, guys, I'm going to play the gig. My foot hurts. And we're like, you're playing the gig. You want to play football now? You're going to toughen up. You can play. So he tapes his foot to the bass drum pedal, and he's playing with tears in his eyes, literally, to about 10 people who are mostly watching the Gulf War break out. At the end of which, the guy gives us $100 and a pizza and says, thanks a lot, boys. And we were able to get gas money to get home, and Fred did indeed have a broken foot.
I remember us going, I think it might have been one of my first gigs with you guys. You had a big showcase gig in New York, And we came up last minute. It was a showcase, so we didn't have any gigs going or coming. It was just like, hey, we got to be in New York tomorrow night. And so 6 in the morning or something like that, we all piled into a van. And I mean, with all the gear and all of us in a van.
I told Allison, like, especially when we were in the 15-passenger van, I remember because we would take those drives.
I don't even think it was the 15.
Somebody was always driving. And you had to get sleep. And I remember because we were so packed, you couldn't all sleep together on the couches. So I would get on the floor between the seats, and there would be equipment under the seats, and the seats had iron bars, and your face would be right there by the iron bar. And if somebody was driving that was tired, I remember there were nights where I would go to sleep going, all right, I might die tonight, but I'm tired to drive and do anything about it, so I'm just going to sleep.
Right.
Yeah, we got to make the gig.
I'm hoping we make up in the next town. That's all I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But I do remember the sleeping on the floor. That was the thing I was thinking about. Like, if you'd open the side door, there'd be somebody on the floor, somebody on the couch, and then another person.
It wasn't always tour buses,
No,
like,
no.
I remember sleeping on the floor.
I would wager to say you guys probably spent more time in the van than you did in the tour buses, even though you had a long run in tour buses.
I'd say
early
about
days.
50-50. About 50-50.
I was riding
I was riding with the Tin Men one time. One of the first times I ever used them for a road gig up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And they've worked together for 20 years, and they're old friends, and they're just telling road stories about the time they got pulled over for speeding or the time they ran out of gas. And we're all laughing, and so I kind of start feeling like part of the group. And I tell a story about, something happening with the tour bus, and they all go silent, and they just kind of sit there looking at me. And finally Chaz spoke. He went, Paul, you got to understand, none of us have ever been on a tour bus. And I was like, guys, I wasn't trying to be a jerk, man. I thought we were all just sharing road stories. I should have just dug back a little further, it wasn't thinking.
Right. Yeah. Paul with his bus. I'm sure life really sucked up there in your bus, Mr. Sanchez.
Well, it was fun, but there was also a time like we had this guitar tech named Dwight Maddox. He stayed with us a long time and really great guitar maker now. But Dwight, when we met him, was from a small town in Mississippi and had never left. So he's making his first road trip. First time out to see the big world. And he's in the back of the tour bus. And I'm playing video games, which I did. We were going to Texas. So everybody goes to sleep with me. And it's, 4 or 5 in the morning. And we're somewhere between Lafayette and Lake Charles. And all of a sudden, the bus slams on its brake. My game goes flying. My beer goes flying. I go flying down the hall. And as I'm flying, I see flaming debris on each side of the bus, and people are jumping out of their bunks, and the bus is screeching to a halt, and we stop right in front of an 18-wheeler that had gone like sideways on a little culvert bridge, like the guy fell asleep, and he sheared his fuselage, and the cabin went this way, and the back of his truck went that way, and flaming wreckage was all over the place. Well, the driver was a part-time cop in Mississippi, tough guy, James. And our sound man, Adam Cam, was a pretty tough guy from up north. And they go running straight to the fire to make sure the driver's okay. And the driver's okay, and they're running back to us, and everybody's out freaking out. And I'm just standing there the whole time like this, just watching it all unfold. Everybody's freaking out, and the driver. And our bus driver's running back, and as he's running back, there's 2 explosions behind him. And this tough old guy doesn't even break stride. He just goes, "That's all right. It's just a couple of tires." And this young guy from Mississippi looks at me, and he goes, "So, this kind of thing happen all the time?" And I don't even look at him. I go, "Yeah, pretty much."
Yeah. And that was the thing about, a lot of times when you had a tour bus, your manager, booking, whoever, would have you drive all night, right? It was like, okay, we're not going to rent hotel rooms.
Well, that was the thing. It was rock and roll.
Right.
I think jazz people are more civilized in how they play and how they live. But in rock and roll, you're pushing it to the hilt in how you live, how you play. And we were making gigs like when Jenny Says was happening, we played a gig in, I believe it was Texas, a festival, to make money for the radio stations. We flew to Los Angeles and did a gig, and flew to Hawaii and did a gig, all in the same day, in 3 different time zones. We were out of our minds.
Wow.
It was really fun. It was one of the greatest gigs we ever played in Hawaii. I got one moment of Beatlemania when the Hawaiian kids loved us, and they literally tore down the autograph tent to try and get to us. It was so much fun,
Wow. See, it's worth it, but yes, it was just madness. And
it is the frenzy that you're looking for. It's rock and roll.
Right. That's what you're doing it for. Ultimately, if you're in rock and roll,
As Keith Richards once said, rock and roll starts and ends in the crotch.
Yes, that whole male thing again. Back to the males.
Well, that doesn't necessarily apply to males.
No, you're right. You're right.
Women have sex organs there too. I don't know if you know this.
I have 3 kids.
You don't have to go there. And Pete Townsend said rock and roll won't help you forget your troubles, but it'll help you dance all over them.
I like that one. That's keep it simple and think of church kind of advice there.
Well,
you know, I never did get my other cup of coffee. And
you should get
the thing it's called Another Cup of Coffee, and I didn't get another cup of coffee.
Aren't we about out of time?
Oh, look at that! The time flew by. We actually did an hour.
We're
today.
over. We're like past it, man.
Let me make sure there's no little questions before we get out of here. All right, we're gonna have to save this one for next. We have any non-live stories in honor of Dan Baum's memorial this weekend. Well, we do have Friday, so maybe we can.
I couldn't do Dan. I could not do 9 live stories just on the way out the door, which is where we are. But I promise, on Friday, which is our next show, we will talk about 9 lives. Dan was a wonderful writer, one of the most intelligent guys I ever met, and he gave me the gift of 9 lives as an album that's a part of my discography that I'm most proud of, and we'll talk about that in the next show. Thanks for asking.
Yes.
And
one last comment on the way out the door. Mark Membrila, hopefully I'm saying these names right. He says, that's the magic of a Paul Sanchez show. The music is great, but that's only half of it. So, thank you very much. Very nice.
I'll tune in on Friday, and we'll be doing it again.
Absolutely. We'll try this again on Friday, and I will try to get rid of the echo. Every day it's a new thing. We'll get rid of the echo on Friday, guys. I promise.
Every day is a winding road.
That's right.
A little bit closer.
And that's kind of how our show is going to be. So let's. I'm going to go ahead and play our outro music and go get myself another cup of coffee. Hope everybody has fun out there, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see when I hear 2 fellas fighting in the booth across from me. So I wipe away the ashes from